just say amazing speakers, and thank you for everybody who's organised this tonight. It's been really, really informative. The Gavin MacFadyen Award is aimed at improving free press, a really truly independent media that stands up for truth and informs us of what's going on. And the idea of the award, in memory of Gavin, is to take a stand and try to say this is the way journalists should report, this is the way it should be done, and to try to make it the norm. Why is a free press so important? We recently called for evidence from whistleblowers and other witnesses who had at considerable risk to themselves reported abuse and other wrongdoing to the relevant authorities, such as regulators. We knew people were being failed by these authorities, and we expected hundreds of witness statements. That deadline has been extended because the evidence continues to flood in, and at the last count we had received over 23,000 accounts of people being failed by police, regulators, safeguarding. Where do you go when the established authorities are failing on this scale? Journalists are not the regulator of last resort. They are often the only hope of getting wrongdoing exposed. And such wrongdoing, one of our whistleblowers from probation, this week in the news, 2 people killed, 5 people in fact were killed, and 1 young girl raped and murdered on a driveway walking home. Those offenders had been downgraded from high risk to medium risk. One of our whistleblowers in Liverpool lost her job for reporting exactly that risk. So every day we see the consequences. Behind every whistleblower there are hundreds and sometimes thousands of lives at risk of serious harm, avoidable death and horrendous abuse. May there always be whistleblowers and journalists with the courage to publish the truth, because we've never needed them more. We all know that journalists have to protect their sources, but the whistleblowers who voted the Gavin MacFadyen Award believe that duty of care runs both ways. The Gavin MacFadyen Award is the only award in the world where whistleblowers vote for journalists who have made a real difference by exposing wrongdoing, corruption and human rights abuses. Whistleblowers are the toughest crowd, so to get their votes you have to be simply extraordinary. Before I go into the special category awards we are here to present tonight, I'd just like to pay tribute to a young journalist whose work has won the Gavin MacFadyen Award this year. Computer Weekly, a tiny little publication, and a young journalist called Carl Flinders, whose tireless work exposed the Horizon Post Office scandal, the biggest miscarriage of justice in the UK legal history. People would still be jailed today if it were not for this young journalist. So there is hope, and every year we see it. This year, whistleblowers also voted for one special category winner, the journalist whose work in case most exemplifies the importance of a free press. We are honoured to have Jeremy Corbyn here to present this award. Thank you.
The Tri-Mic event. Thank you very much. Just to say, I've just come from Adelante, the Latin American annual conference, which we held at the Hamilton House, the National Education Union place, and there were colleagues there from Ecuador who were genuinely very supportive of Julian Assange, and we expressed our support for Julian at that conference, which was overwhelmingly well received by everybody there. And indeed his cause is supported by a number of very important leaders across Latin America, particularly President López Obrador in Mexico, Lula in Brazil, and others are all making the case to the US to stop the appeal and so that Julian Assange can be freed. And so our campaign goes on everywhere we can raise it, and I'm very proud to present this award, Gavin MacFadyen Award 2022, special category, the journalist whose work most exemplifies the importance of a free press, Julian Assange. We had a wonderful event in Strasbourg this week where we had a very long session of speeches, music and presentations about Julian Assange, and the high point of the evening was when Julian came on the phone to the meeting. He didn't say anything, he was just on the phone, and so he heard our applause. And so as I present this to Craig, I'm very grateful to Craig for receiving it on his behalf. Can we just have a thunderous round of applause so Julian can hear it, even behind those stony walls of Belmarsh?
Thank you. If I can thank Jeremy very much on behalf of the people. There couldn't be a better winner than Julian. There couldn't be a better person to present the award than Jeremy. Jeremy's contribution to freedom and equality over many, many decades is something which we're very, very proud to be associated with. So thank you very much. It's also, even though only as a proxy, it's rather nice for me to have an award with Gavin on it. I remember after one evening with Julian in the Ecuadorian embassy, Nadira and I had stayed too late, we'd probably drunk too much to get home to Ramsgate where we lived at the time. And Gavin offered us to go and stay with him at his home with his lovely wife. And he took us there, and he disappeared up to bed, and he said, "You can sleep on the couch in the study." We wandered into the study, where we could see no couch, but there was a huge pile of books and manuscripts, and we dug into it like an archaeological dig for some time, and eventually a couch appeared under the window, where we spent the night. So I have the fondest memories of Gavin. I'm delighted this prize is named in memory of him. And thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you.